Thanks for tuning in. It's John Kuzma from EndZoneBlog.com. This is the Across the Middle show, and we're going to recap the games from this past weekend, starting with the Cowboys win over the Chargers, and we're also going to talk about the Browns win over the Texans. So I know you guys want to hear about the Cowboys. They're the highest valued sports franchise in the world. They have better ratings than any other team out there. They're not just America's team. The Cowboys are the world's team. So I know you guys want to hear about this. The Cowboys beat the Chargers yesterday. And, when you're watching this team play, one thing really stands out to you, and that's all the young talent that they have. The Cowboys injected speed and explosiveness into their team. And the guys that really made that happen were CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard. Because, look at what Pollard did yesterday against the Chargers. This guy's like a rocket ship, blasting off every single time he touches the ball. It's his acceleration that left the Chargers in the dust. And, CeeDee Lamb is the same way. I don't know if you guys saw that play right before halftime. CeeDee Lamb catches this curl route, breaks free from the defense, and then kind of turns it into a lateral play to Ezekiel Elliott. They almost scored a touchdown. It's like, after watching, Tony Pollard taking jet sweeps and taking those outside runs and just blowing past the Chargers time and time again, and then seeing CeeDee Lamb do that, you're like, man, these young guys that the Cowboys have are explosive. And when they added, CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard to the nucleus of Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, and Ezekiel Elliott, it took this team to another level. That's why we're seeing the Cowboys make a change for the better, because they have all these athletes, and it's so hard to game plan for all of them. We saw this team play really good against the Bucs, take the Bucs down to the wire. Probably should have beat the Bucs. No probably about it. They should have beat the Bucs. If it wasn't for Tom Brady and him pulling off a miracle, the Cowboys should have beat the Bucs. And then yesterday they're in this tight match against the Chargers, another dogfight, and the Cowboys find a way to get the job done. And, Dak Prescott's playing great right now. There's no denying that. But he has this great supporting cast that is really, helping take the pressure off of Prescott, because all these guys can win their one-on-one matchup. Amari Cooper is carving people up. He's such a technician and a route runner. And just because his technique is so, finely tuned, these cornerbacks don't stand a chance against him. They don't stand a chance against Amari Cooper because, whether it's an out route, a comeback, he's making you think the exact opposite of what he's really doing. And he does such a good job of selling it that these defenders take the bait every single time. It's amazing what Amari Cooper has been doing these past couple of games. And then, Lamb, he's so explosive, he can get deep. Like Dak Prescott said on Hard Knocks, that's someone you would like to throw a go route to, and basically what Dak was saying is, CD runs the best go route you could ask for. You just throw it out in front of him. He's such an athlete, he can run under it. Not only that, he's so athletic in terms of being able to jump up and make the acrobatic catch that you just see these spectacular plays being made by CeeDee Lamb. These explosive plays being made by Tony Pollard. So the fact that the Cowboys were able to add these weapons to what they've had up until this point, those other guys, Dak, Amari, Ezekiel Elliott, there's just so much talent there, and they're so well-rounded that, the Cowboys are looking good, and it's almost to the point where it's like, is Jerry Jones going to have the last laugh? Because obviously some of these picks he's been making in the draft, they've been some good pickups. CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard. Those guys can play, and the Cowboys are better for it. The other story we got, the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns against the Houston Texans. Cleveland wins. I think it was like 31-21. But the big takeaway from that game is, the fact that the Browns have the best running backs in the NFL. You look at Nick Chubb, and, he's making defenders miss all day against the Texans. The defenders just kept whiffing on their tackles against Nick Chubb. He does this against everybody. It doesn't matter what defense he goes against. Nick Chubb gets it done. Well on his way to becoming the best running back in the NFL. And if Derrick Henry was to pass the torch, it very well could be to Nick Chubb at some point. And, Chubb, like I said, no matter what, he gets it done. And then in that game, there was points when Kareem Hunt provided a spark for the Browns. But it became obvious that the Browns have the best running backs in the NFL when Demetric Felton got in on the action. The Browns lined him up out wide. They threw him a bubble screen, and then Felton punched it in for a touchdown. So when you got three guys that can get the job done at one position, guess what? You got the best running backs in the NFL, especially when Nick Chubb's your number one and you got Kareem Hunt coming off the bench. I mean, so much of the Browns' identity comes from those two guys, Chubb and Hunt. They play action off it, they bootleg off it, and that opens up plays for Baker Mayfield and this offense. But now that Demetric Felton is there too, and they can use him as a receiver on bubble screens like we saw, and on that play, he catches the bubble screen, he hits a defender, spins off it, and then finishes in the end zone. I mean, Felton looks like he can play too. It's amazing. The Browns, they just keep acquiring really good running backs. They can pound the rock. They can wear you down. They can get those tough yards on the ground and control the time of possession and do all those things that tilt the odds in your team's favor. And that helped the Browns, elevate from mediocrity because, this team for all those years, mediocrity might be overvaluing them a little bit. I mean, this was the worst team in the league. The Browns couldn't do anything right for the longest time. And then they get Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They make the playoffs. Now they're going down to the wire. Probably should have beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs kind of slipped off the hook on them. But, they come back. They beat the Texans. And they're a really good football team. There's no denying that. The Browns are a really good football team. I don't think anybody wants to play that team right now. I think in the playoffs, maybe, Baker's got to be a little bit better. But Baker throws lasers on the short stuff. I mean, he's throwing lasers on that short stuff. And when he's on, he's fine. But, there's times where he kind of, plays a little bit smaller than he really is, and he's still growing. He's still a young quarterback. He'll probably get that stuff figured out eventually. But it's got to happen because these running backs are pulling so much weight that they need Baker to be that guy. And I'm not going to say he's not that guy because he's been a part of it as well, turning this team from a doormat team into a playoff team. That's been an impressive transformation. So you can't knock Mayfield, but he does have to be a little bit better late in the year in the playoffs when it counts. But A lot of great NFL action this past weekend. I know you guys were loving it. We were loving it here at endzoneblog.com. Make sure you guys tune in for the next episode of the Across the Middle show. It's available wherever you listen to your podcasts at. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm John Kuzma. I'm signing off.